Austraeoh by Imploding Colon, read by Deathlight, Chapter 177, Legacy. Hours passed. Rimba sat on a plateau of rock beneath a high stretch of ceiling. The length of the central cylindrical stretched before her. With dull ruby eyes, she watched as families trotted in quiet groups, marching up to the rocky enclosures within the grand halls of the place. Drawing canvas curtains behind them, they retired for the evening. Candles dimmed until only a few torches lit the lengths of the subterranean city. High above, clustered sheets of bioluminescence provided the realm with an ivory glow, like artificial moonlight overcast. With a sigh, she stumbled forward on folded legs. Her mind briefly wandered to the subject of Cold Canter, of what he might be thinking at the present moment in time. If he was grieving over a death that never happened, or that hasn't happened yet. Rima felt the hard body of the pendant beneath her neck. Raising a hoof, she traced the edge of it. It was strange how she'd gotten used to the thing clinging to her coat. Only now, for some awkward reason, it felt slightly heavier. I don't know what you know of beauty. Rimrush gasped, startled for one of the few rare moments in her life. She looked back at the pony who snuck up on her. Sam Rose stood on a sharp promontory of stone a few feet away. I don't know what you've seen in your travels, in your flight, in your life above the smog. His green eyes were trained softly on the rigid lengths of sanctuary. For once, he wasn't wearing any armor, and his tan-brown coat shone in the torchlight. Even with all the golden armor gone, he didn't look any less grand. But I hope you can see the beauty of this place too. It's more than just a kingdom, it's a monument to the will of ponies to survive against all odds. Rainbow swallowed. I've never been a huge expert on beauty, or a fan of it. He looked at her. She gently smiled. I prefer awesomeness. Sam's eyebrow rose. It's kind of like beauty, only makes your heart beat way faster. She ran a hoof through her mane as she gazed once more at the lengths of the torchlit civilization. Then it happens in quick bursts, like when you saved me and your friends, and wielded a big sword. Samrose's nostrils flared as he murmured to the high ceilings above. I don't see the beauty in my failure to save Stu's life. Rima bit her lip. Yeah, well... She fidgeted. I didn't think it was all that awesome either. She winced momentarily, then emphasized. But it was hardly your fault. I shouldn't have made the executive decision for us to split up. I have always been far more properly armed than my subjects. It doesn't matter if I'm more skilled in dragon slaying. I should have known that they were too smart to entirely fall for my diversionary tactic. You put your life on the line to save all of us, Rainbow said, standing up and frowning to get her point across. Heck, we'd all be dead if it wasn't for what you did. Regardless, Stu still died. I loved him like a brother. Sam's eyes fell hard on her. The only true victory is if I died instead. Rainbow squinted at him. I just don't get you. I can't figure out why a pony, any pony, would be proud to die. Can't you? Rainbow did a double take. He paced towards her quietly. I may come across as judgmental. I do apologize. There's a certain aloofness to my position that I'll never shirk, no matter how many tragedies I surpass. I've learned long ago that I must take responsibility first and rely on emotions second. Yeah, I kinda figured that. He paused and stood before her. I never thought I'd stumble upon a pony who was so similar and yet so different to me. She blinked at that. How long have you been shouldering everything and every pony you ever cared for on your shoulders, Miss Dash? Rainbow squirmed for a bit where she stood. Not as long as you, I bet. Doesn't matter. His eyes were thin and analytical. I always wondered that I might become a soul like you, detached from his homeland, fleeing to escape a past that is too painful to bear. Wait, huh? Rainbow Dash's eyes twitched. She tried to frown, but her voice was cracking. I am not fleeing. No, I suppose you're not. Sam replied calmly. But then again, does a pony who has nothing to go back to have the grace to flee? Rainbow Dash was silent. My kingdom's coming to an end. Sam said solemnly. The matriarch is an ancient being, capable for living centuries upon centuries. That is not a luxury that the ponies of Sylvaidal have. If we continue as my fur bearers have, the Dragon Queen will win. She will outlast us. If failure comes, it will come soon, be it with a grand project or another crumbling expenditure. I expect to fight to the bitter end, living as long as I can, if only to bring as much pain and anguish to my enemies as possible. So you see, Miss Dash, we all have our ways of fleeing, some more poetic than others. How can you expect failure so easily? Rainbow Dash remarked. She pointed towards the dimly lit space of sanctuary. You're surrounded by ponies, full of hope and spirits. Can't you think, at least for their sake? I think for a higher calling. Samuro swiftly responded. And I can't afford to be happy thoughts. He gazed lethargically at the links of the place. I can't save these ponies. Even with a complete victory, it won't clear the smog away. It won't eliminate all the whelplings. It won't raise the destroyed heights of the Sylvaidalian temples from the rubble. I have, at best, a long life of desolation and reconstruction to tend to. And that's assuming we finally slay the matriarch. Wow. Rainbow's ears drooped. That's not very cheerful. That's my legacy to live. Sam said, trotting past her. But I'll gladly live it, especially if it means supporting the future of my subjects. Your subjects could stand to receive more from you than the spilling of blood. Rainbow pivoted to face him. Especially when you haven't felled any pony yet. Especially when they're still around to be your subjects. Samrose lingered, then glanced over his shoulder. You have my pity. Rainbow Dash grimaced. What for? I can't imagine what it's like to live a life alone without having a legacy to give. I do not find it enviable. He walked off. Rest assured, one way or another, I will find you a way out of this place. Your loyalties lie elsewhere, even if you have yet to discover them. Rainbow Dash was silent in the absence of him. There was a sore lump in their throats. She scanned the walls with her ruby eyes, for they suddenly appeared to be closing in around her. But for as long as she stared, and as long as she looked, she didn't see a single hint of a lavender glow. It was as if it was gone.